today, if you drive through California's Central Valley, you'll still see crops in the fields, but you won't see life. What was grown to be eaten is sitting right where it is, untouched, unharvested. This is not a weather failure. This is the result of fear. Fear that, in just a few days, brought an entire system to a halt. What you're about to hear is not a rumor. It's not political theater. These are hard numbers. Numbers that, in the coming days, every major outlet will be forced to explain. But you're hearing them here first, because this is where the economic reality begins. Before it gets softened, before it gets reframed, before it becomes a headline. If you want to understand how this is about to affect your food and your grocery bill, subscribe now and leave a comment telling me which state you're watching from. Because what's happening in California this week does not stay in California. Now let's talk about the number that should stop everyone cold. 75%. That's the no-show rate for agricultural workers in California's Central Valley this week. Not a typo, not an exaggeration. 75% of the workforce that feeds this country did not show up. We're talking about Fresno County, Kern County, Tulare County, the agricultural engine of the United States. These counties don't just feed California, they feed the nation. And this week, 3 out of every 4 workers stayed home. The official explanation is federal immigration enforcement. You'll hear that rumors of raids spooked workers. You'll hear that this is temporary. You'll hear that the situation is stabilizing. It isn't. Because once fear enters a labor system, it doesn't leave on a schedule. By Monday, reports started circulating in farm communities. By Tuesday morning, labor contractors were calling growers with the same message. We can't staff your fields. By Wednesday, this was no longer a labor shortage, it was a shutdown. Strawberry fields that require continuous harvesting were left untouched. Every day a strawberry goes unpicked, its value drops. After 3 days, it's worthless. In a single week, millions of dollars simply disappeared. And this isn't abstract, this is people. Crew supervisors showing up with a fraction of their teams, fields that needed dozens of workers being covered by a handful, harvest windows missed, entire crops lost. And the damage doesn't stop at the field, because even if labor suddenly reappeared, the processing system isn't ready. Facilities have already shut down, which means food that could be harvested has nowhere to go. This isn't a labor problem anymore. It's a supply chain decapitation. California produces the majority of America's fresh produce. When that production drops sharply, prices don't rise slowly. They spike. Wholesale markets are already reacting. Retail prices follow later and harder. What cost $4 last week doesn't become $5. It becomes $7 or $8. And when families feel pressure, they don't cut luxury items first. They cut nutrition. Fresh food disappears from carts. Processed food replaces it. And the long-term health consequences don't show up immediately. But they do show up. This is how a labor shock becomes an inflation crisis, and then a public health crisis. None of this was unpredictable. Warnings were issued. Models were run. Scenarios were outlined. And yet, there was no contingency plan, no emergency response, no coordination, just statements. And now, food is rotting in fields while families brace for higher prices. This isn't about politics. It's about competence. Because food systems don't run on ideology. They run on people, infrastructure, and trust. Break one of those, and everything downstream collapses. What you're watching right now is not a temporary disruption. It's the beginning of a structural shift, one that doesn't reverse quickly, one that doesn't fix itself, and one that will show up on your receipt long before it shows up in official statements. That's why this matters. That's why you're hearing it now, because by the time it becomes breaking news, the damage is already done. I'll continue tracking the numbers, the labor data, and the price signals. If you want to stay ahead of what's coming, subscribe and stay informed. I'll see you in the next report.